Welcome to episode 35 of Confessions of an SEO. I'm your host, Carolyn Holzman. Congratulations, you have found the most non-SEO SEO podcast on the planet. Any shiny SEO tactics in here are completely by accident. Here you'll find the people side of SEO. It's time we put a human face on our misunderstood and often maligned industry. And keep in mind, this is agnostic information concerning SEO from someone who's been there on both sides. A brick and mortar business owner for over 28 years just trying to get more business, and a reformed client SEO of 12 years now seriously seeking SEO researcher and tester. I am not here to sell you. When it comes to client SEO, I deeply believe the farmer and the cowboy should be friends, that there are mutual revenue opportunities when we understand each other's work better, and frankly, I am tired of hearing business owners say they got scammed and good SEOs getting hung up on when they reach out to earn new business. So, if you're an SEO, a business owner, or a C-suite executive working with an SEO marketing group, may you find value in here, or at least a few minutes of a respite. I am doing much better than I was doing last week. It's like I had the bends. The brain wasn't working, the body even less, and the sleeping was not great. It's tough when you come from the mountains back to a much more hotter and arid climate. So I just think I should have given myself more time getting back here after 4 days driving almost 2,000 miles. Note to self, when you can, move to the mountains. By the way, I will have a special announcement at the end, so stick around. If you're an SEO, you will want to hear this. If you're a business owner wondering if you should fire your SEO, you'll want to hear this. All right. Today's episode, I'm calling it Organic Raspberry Confidence. And trust me, by the end, that will make sense. So the topic for today, this is from a listener, an independent SEO. And I took some time on this because I think it's far more common than we want to let on. Questioning ourselves on how do we know if we're a good SEO or not? And more importantly, who has the right to tell us? So she wrote, I love your podcast about the real struggles in an SEO's life. One of the biggest struggles I'm facing with my work is knowing if I'm good enough. I'm wondering if I am experiencing imposter syndrome or if I'm just not doing my work as good as it should have been done. Typically, I don't get any feedback from my clients, even if I rank them for their best keywords in the top 3 or bring them more visitors than they've had before. It's as if it's what I would call great, and they say nothing. But if they drop out of the top 3, even just a little, even if the competition increased and it would require more hours or money to beat them, of course they don't want to pay more, and they tell me instead the work is not good enough and I should put more effort into it. So, how do you know if you're a good or bad SEO? Oh, I hope you can feel a great big hug coming from me to you right now. And much as, we like to say, if you're wondering if you might be crazy, by the mere fact of questioning yourself, you're not. So I think questioning yourself is probably the sign of the very essence of a good SEO. So keep that in mind. Now first, from what I can tell, everyone who cares or takes care about what they're doing always wonders if they're getting it right. Now, I'm not saying this that you're not feeling it, but sometimes, though, we feel something and we forget that it's a feeling, that it's not real. And secondly, I will want to talk about a potential elephant in the room. Now let's start with some facts. We all know that SEO has historically been a male-dominated industry. Moz did an informal survey in 2020 and found that basically women in SEO run about 30% and men run about 68% of the industry. So when I hung out my shingle in SEO in 2009, I didn't know another SEO that was like me. When I went to the first SEO rock stars in 2020. I met 3 other women SEOs. They were Dory Friend, who organized it, Ann Parmesan, who was helping her organize it, and Kim Albee, who was attending. I was ecstatic. All of us are still friends today. When I spoke at the same conference in 2016, there were 10 speakers, one of which was Dory. I was the other of 2 other speakers, and Holly Starks was the third. So that, my friends, is a solid 30%. Today, I know a lot more SEOs that also happen to be women. All of that to say, it is super easy for us as women in SEO to hit resistance. And for right or for wrong, we have often interpreted resistance or silence as saying something negative about us or our work. And that part is on us. We must cultivate our own confidence. And I think this is true whether you're a man or a woman, okay? So, but just understand this question came in from a woman SEO. So for me, when I start to isolate myself, because it's easy, we're in SEO, I find sometimes, that it's easy for those little voices to come in. And so for the past few years, whenever I start to hear that little tiny idea just suddenly start to take root in my head, I do try to turn it around. And I ask myself the question, well, what would it look like if in this moment I knew without a doubt that I did what any good SEO would do with the same data, with the same budget? And that took me a lot of practice. So it's not a thing, you just flip a switch and boom, it doesn't bother you anymore. But I'm just saying that's something, that's a technique that I use. Also, in my experience, I think finding an SEO family of really good people where it's safe to speak and to share. And if you're not already in one, I suggest you start one. And it's how any of us are built up. It's through a supportive group. It's how everybody does it. And I'm grateful every time one of the men in some of the groups I'm in, if somebody starts to over talk me, sometimes it's easy, because you're in Zoom, but even this was true, like in person, they would follow up publicly and ask me to repeat what I was saying. So I think a self-grown, nurtured confidence is especially important for an independent SEO. I'm saying it's important for you, for me, for us, for ourselves. It's all an inside job, no matter what field that we're in. And it comes when it comes, and we just have to realize we make it for ourselves, and we're not waiting for someone else to make it okay to feel that way. Now, having said that, there are things that we do push up on a lot. And I love this article. It's from 2013, the Harvard Business Review, and they published an article on leadership and asked the question, why so few women are in management positions? This all makes sense, don't worry. The quick summary of the article is basically, popular explanations range from women just aren't capable of being leaders to women just don't want to be leaders. And the author says, however, the absence of women in leadership roles has less to do with women themselves and more to do with how we interpret leadership traits. Confidence, a trait more associated with men, is often interpreted as incompetence. And as a result, charismatic, but perhaps incompetent men have fewer barriers to reach the top. And so individuals in positions to promote and hire managers should think more critically about what seems like a leadership trait versus what is an actual leadership trait. So I'm not saying be an arrogant jerk, but when it comes to client SEO, if you're confident that you did a good job, what someone else says, someone who doesn't know a fraction of what you know about SEO, when they tell you you have to do a better job, it's okay to push back and to remind them. Think about it. If your clients are so smart, why aren't they doing what you're doing? Why do they even need you if it's just a matter of motivation? SEO is not like you're cleaning a counter and you missed a spot. Keywords and search engine results are by their nature volatile, and no one owns a spot in the SERPs. And if there's competition, they have to understand that they may have limited themselves by their budget. And that is their company, not yours. You should be paid to do more, not just assume that you must do more because they happen to gripe a little. It's your knowledge and experience that should matter, not their insecurities. And by the way, also remember, they may not know. I just want to let that sink in, that, they're used to motivating employees. They're not necessarily used to understanding what it takes to rank in the search engines. So, and again, the internal perspective about what we're really doing, that is also our responsibility. And understand it ebbs and flows. But it's up to us to keep that perspective while at the same time always striving to keep our knives sharp. And this is why I think there is a burden on business owners to understand that even if they are paying a monthly fee, you, me, everybody, we do owe them our best, but that's it. Google makes the rules, and Google changes the rules whenever they want. Reminds me, one time I had an SEO client. It was a sign company, and it was a referral from my hairstylist. Yeah, that is true. Once I got started, she would tell me how happy he was. She told me he would come home, at the end of the day, and was like, wow, my business has really taken off now that Carolyn is doing whatever it is that she does. I don't even want to not have her working on my team. I've never made this much money when it wasn't a salesperson working a client. And it's like she brings in 5 times what those guys bring in. Now, he never told me that. Never shared any of the numbers or the revenue plus, and this is on me, I didn't ask. But it was enough to know that even if he didn't tell me, that is how he felt. Then one day, I remembered exactly, because it happened to also be the same day some angry asshole flew his plane into a building near our house after he started a fire at his ex-wife's house, which was also on the other side of town, but also near our house. And so anyway, that's how I remember. But my client called me into his office, and it was about 45 minutes away from mine. And once got seated, he started dressing me down for not doing a good enough job for what he was paying me. Now, let me just say this. This was early on. And back then, he paid me significantly less than $1,000 per month, like half. I have no idea what he paid his sales guys, but I can assure you they probably required more than a $500 a month salary. Now, the truth was I was shocked because knowing what I knew, what everything had been shared with me, what he had said, this was literally the last thing I expected. And I remember feeling embarrassed. It's like the feeling like, what if he's right? What if I'm not doing a good enough job? And as I sat there, and of course, it's like, I'm sure it was just a couple of seconds, but it feels like forever. Then thankfully, and I'm sure it was some kind of grace, I got mad, which most people who know me, it's like you probably wouldn't have told it from the outside. So I called his bluff. And I said, well, since you know so much about SEO and how to do things better, why am I sitting here? You could have at least saved me the drive. And then I started to get up. And he was like, no, wait, don't be mad. It was basically, as he explained it, some form of his concern that sometimes his employees, which I was not, rest on their laurels, and he just wanted to make sure I was continuing to do a good job for him. Now that I think about it, because that's been a while, knowing what I know now, if that kind of thing had happened today, I might have accepted his apology and either tripled my fee or fired him. Knowing SEO and knowing how to manage the power dynamic with clients are two different things. And I know I'm better on that last one now but I still think that that's something as an independent SEO that we do struggle with. So I may not have answered directly, like how do you know if you're a good SEO or not, but I hope this helps you separate out who to listen to and, more importantly, who not to listen to. Which brings me to organic raspberries. And I saw this meme in a SEO Facebook group. And after a summer of going to every farmer's market I could, it really caught my eye. And it said, ladies, the next time you're worried about asking too much money for your work, think about how many raspberries have the audacity to cost $7 for one stinking 6-ounce container. We need organic raspberry confidence. So yeah, let's cultivate some of that organic raspberry confidence, people. So thank you, independent client SEO, for submitting such a great and terrific question. Now go out there and command the space you occupied, because you've earned it. Well, that's all I've got for today. Thank you for listening. I appreciate the questions and comments, and you can always send them to confessions@AmericanWayMedia.com. Now, for the special announcement. After this week's SEO Fight Club show, which you can find on YouTube really easily, the host, Ted Kubitis, talked about how to be able to know if your SEO problem is really Google's fault. In the show, he did a call out that basically was, we need as a community to make this information available, to write about it, to document it, and to provide working SEOs who are getting blamed and fired because neither they nor their employers or executives didn't know it wasn't their fault, the SEO's fault. So in answer to the call, there's now a place to go and check to see if Google is indexing. And you can find it on AmericanWayMedia.com. It's called the Index Detector. It's a page on the site, and since it was just published, if Google is indexing, it's going to take 48 hours to know for sure. So if you want to go before then, you'll have to go direct. I put a link, or I will put a link in the description. Also, if you go to Facebook, I'll put a post pinned there for about a week or two with a link. But go to AmericanWay.com/index-detector. So if you're needing third-party validation or source to quote, you are welcome. It's a labor of love for you, for this community, and the businesses you serve. And if you're a business owner and you've been thinking about firing your SEO and your site is built on Javascript framework, now you can know who is really at fault. Thank you for subscribing to the podcast wherever you're listening to it. And if you haven't, please do so. And I appreciate you letting your friends know about Confession. If you want to share it with colleagues or business owners, just copy the URL of the episode. It's also on Amazon Alexa, so you can listen in your car. And of course, you can just Google Confessions of an SEO. You can't miss it. We all stand to make more business and success with each other when we, the SEOs and the business, understand each other better. It's been my pleasure to be your host this week. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the source.